Indianapolis Center, do you have any test operations restricted area 2508?
Aries 31, roger. Traffic is quite luminous and is exhibiting some non-ballistic motion, over.
Roger, Aries 31. Continue to send at your discretion, over.
Okay, Center. The traffic is approaching head-on, ultra bright, and really moving. They're right by us right now.
There are 1,000 UFO sightings reported around the world every month. 90% of these sightings can be explained, but 10% cannot. Officially and unofficially, the U.S. military has been investigating UFOs since 1947. Their top secret goal is to find out what's behind these unexplained sightings. The Pentagon classifies them as unusual airborne anomalies, but a better term is X-Files. Join us now as Mack, One and Commander Cobra explore these unsolved cases, UFO incidents that baffle even the U.S. military. This is Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack Maloney.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have for you tonight. But first, girls, get ready. I'm going to introduce the members of the posse, but you know who comes first on that list. So, girls, get your mister, get your fan, get your extra big box of Kleenex, and I guess your extra small box of wipes. Because the very famous one is here.
Hello, Mac. Glad to be here. Hello, ladies. Hello, girls. Women of all ages. Welcome to the show. And guys, too. I forgot that. We're getting a good fan base now, really.
We get a lot of people.
Some of it's cosmopolitan, some of it's rural.
Some of it is royal. Let's see, up there in his bunker, looking out at the rest of us through the slits. They know him as Coco on the street, but we know him as Commander Cobra.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's always great to be on the wing, and I'd like to
chicken wing.
Just salute all the active duty military members that listen to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files.
Yes.
Thank you for the lovely emails that I have received.
Yes.
Just remember that when you write me on the other show, it's not exactly Mack's show, and I know that you enjoy both, but Mack's show is the Military X-Files.
Wow, huh? That would be militaries in 3 large countries now, the USA, Canada, and the UK. Getting military response over there.
We could win the war with that.
Right. Speaking of winning the war, up there in Battle Creek, Michigan, the Battle Creek of the Republic, surrounded by donuts. The donuts are his friends. Switchblade Steve Ward. Switchy.
It is great to be here.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're eating a donut right now? Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to finish chewing? Wow. Okay. Can you just hold that donut? Oh, that's we have to cut that out.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, look at him. What have we've created a monster. Let's hold that donut up again now. We got a donut story to tell people.
It's getting
smaller. Okay. Is that a Sweetwater's donut?
It is a Sweetwater's donut, yes.
Wow. Okay, Sweetwater's donut mill.
It's a chocolate raised, but they call it a chocolate ice ring.
Chocolate ice cream. Sweetwater's Donut Mill in Battle Creek, also Kalamazoo, Michigan, have become our
official
donut shop of Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. They were on the phone with us last week. We plan to do big things with them, but Switchy, who got us all into this, visited them today, talked to our good friend Tricia, and just show that donut again to us, please. Okay, I'm going to try to describe it on the radio. He's eaten about almost half of it, and it's about the size of his head, right? Would you say?
Yeah. At least the lower peninsula of Michigan.
Wow, huh? So everything we hear about Sweetwater Donuts is true, because people have now writing to me. I got 2 other letters from people who love Sweetwater Donuts, and I never heard of them, but they're all homemade. That's the angle, right, Switchy?
Yep.
Wow.
They're larger than your typical donut.
And I'd just like to note that this program established its official donut maker and supplier and collaborator before legal department. And I think that's an important distinction.
That is. Yep.
What did he
There's something I neglected to point out last time.
What?
Well, the thing is that you know how you like to grab a couple donuts and a cup of coffee and take off in the car, right?
Yes.
We've all done that.
Yes.
Well, there are certain donuts at Sweetwater's you can do that with, and others you have to be very careful, like some of the jelly donuts, because we'll be wearing them on your shirt and on the steering wheel.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Some of them you just cannot navigate while driving.
See, that's the trouble with Dunkin' Donuts, okay? You can drive anywhere with a Dunkin' Donut in your hand. It's not going to melt. It's not going to crumble because it's so manufactured.
It is. It's ridiculous.
And there's no taste in them. No taste in them.
It's so standard issue,
Right. So anyway, so this Switcher, he's just for you folks listening at home, he's got about 4 more bites to go on that bad boy. All right, let's switch. This is an abbreviated opening, but while we're talking about food, let's give the crowd what they want. Okay. Today, what did you have? Can I ask the question? Can I ask the question?
Big plans.
Can I ask the question? He's out of control. He's out of control. He's like Dylan.
Well, that's right. It is Mack Maloney's military.
That's right.
Well,
yeah,
sorry.
he keeps doing. Okay.
The sugar's kicking in.
What did you have for breakfast?
I had big plans today to
Okay.
do another, spectacular breakfast, but I had so much to do. I thought I just don't have time to go out to a restaurant with real waitresses and real silverware. So I fell back on the old standby, a heaping bowl of sugar frosted flakes.
Yes, Switchy. Okay.
Yeah.
Going old school. It's good. Every few weeks,
Once an addict, always an addict.
go back to the flakes. Right? You put bananas or any fruit in those things?
Well, more than every few weeks, but it was just worked out well today.
Well, for us. Okay. All right. You put any
Now
fruit?
later on in the day, I went to Sweetwater's, but I could not say that was actually breakfast. That was closer to a lunch or a snack. or something.
Breakfast 2.0. Want to call it that?
Yeah, okay. I'll go with that.
So, listen, we have an interesting show for you tonight. We're going to be talking to our good friend Chris Ahr, who is the person who gives me a lot of information for a series of books that I've written right now, starring someone named Chris Ahr, who is a Navy military detective with a little bit of ESP and a Jaguar with machine guns in its headlights, right? They want
Yeah, just like in the book.
He's going to be joining us.
The 3-second ESP, that's really the...
3 seconds.
That's
He
the
said
cool
3 seconds, just enough to duck a punch. Okay, the Kalashnikov Kiss and also the Sea of Moons. The Goodreads people have been running a contest, and when we come back, Chris is going to join us, and we're going to announce the winners of the contest. More than 1,200 people vying for
Really?
6 free books.
Kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, yep. And then later on, we're going to be talking to one of our favorite guests of all time, Paul Dale Roberts. Now, you remember him for 2 things. One is that he actually saw top-secret photographs of UFOs taken from the space shuttle. Okay?
And that's interesting.
And he was also the disco king of Sacramento, I think, in 78?
Yeah, he's wicked proud of that.
Yeah, he danced disco for 9 days. 9 days, folks. Paul Dale Roberts, PDR, those friends. He's going to be joining us, and who knows what else. So why don't we take a commercial break now? And we'll be right back. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military Style Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Where is the Sea of Moons? Is it on the moon? Or in a haunted part of the Pacific Ocean? Or is it just in our heads?
What if you dreamed of meeting a beautiful Irish girl, but she turned out to be a cop? What if you dreamed that you were on TV 24/7, but only the government knew the channel? And what if you dreamed you were shipwrecked on a deserted island and rescued by 5 lovely castaways, only to have some real pirates ruin the party? Then you should wake up and read The Sea of Moons, the latest installment in Mack Maloney's best-selling series, codename Starman. Follow the adventures of U.S. Navy Special Agent Chris Ahr as he travels the globe using his special ESP powers to solve top-secret mysteries. First in Ireland, then in Tahiti, and finally to Hollywood, where Chris and his girlfriend Angel discover the only spooks inside an old haunted house belong to the CIA. That's codename Starman, The Sea of Moons by Mack Maloney. On sale on Amazon and in bookstores everywhere.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military Style Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have lined up for you tonight. But first, let me introduce the members of the posse. Girls, get ready. Start fanning yourselves because the very famous Juan is here.
Hello, Mac. How's it going?
Just trying to come into my 2-shot here. Yeah. Okay. How's things with you? You got the beatnik look back, I see.
Had a good week.
You really? Yeah? Why? What happened? Should I ask?
Things are good. I said a good week, yeah.
What, did you go see a lot of your clients?
Yep.
Okay.
You know me, I'm an extrovert.
Are you really? Yeah, I didn't know that. Up there in the great state of Maine, in his bunker, looking at the slits of the rest of us, we know him as Commander Cobra. On the street, they call him Coco, but we know him as a Commander Cobra. Coco, how you doing?
Very good, sir. And I think that is probably the big giveaway for the show tonight.
Yes. Okay.
Juan is an extrovert.
Yes, right. If you can take
Who would
anything
have
away
called
from
that?
it, right.
The
Yes.
big reveal.
Life is full of mystery.
Extra. Read all about it.
Actually, you said big giveaway because we're doing the big Mack Maloney 6-book giveaway.
Well, I was trying to work some fun in there.
Thank you very much for the Gazinta. Thank you. Coco, up there in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Coco up there in Battle Creek, Michigan?
This guy only drinks hot black
Take a
coffee.
temperature check. Temperature check, please.
If he is, I'll be looking over my shoulder.
There you go.
Switch in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Our national correspondent, Switchblade Steve Ward. Switchy.
Great to be here.
Okay, that's the name of the autobiography. We in a previous segment, we talked about you visiting Mecca, your Mecca, Sweetwater Donuts, today, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We've already established you had Frosted Flakes for breakfast, but that's kind of anticlimactic at this point.
Yes.
Are you going to eat the last piece of the donut on the air like you were begging us to do off air? Go ahead. It's radio, but let's go at it. Okay. There he goes.
What kind of a donut is it, by the way? It looks chocolate.
It's a chocolate raised donut.
Those.
They call it a chocolate ice ring.
Chocolate ice ring. Okay, cool.
Well, the visual pleasure on his face
yes, right.
is worth the price of admission.
I'd use the word orgasmic, but we're a family show.
You know, there is such thing as a donut.
So we won't say
addiction.
orgasmic, but it did have that kind of.
You could say organic.
Both.
It's Michigan, buddy. Come on, let's keep moving.
Speaking about keeping moving, a very special guest is joining us tonight, lightening up the show with her beauty. Ready? Are you ready for this, Swanee?
Yep.
Nurse Kayla is here.
Nurse Kayla. Oh,
Let's
man,
please.
oh, man.
Hello. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nurse Kayla, did she reveal herself when you were out of the room?
Cue the music from that
She
Natalie
did.
Wood
She turned
movie.
on her camera.
He did.
Well,
She was out in the pool earlier.
Out in the pool.
And,
boy.
she didn't want to show you, apparently.
Why?
I guess not.
Why me?
I don't know.
So let's
We
move on.
We caught a glimpse. You were, I don't know,
Really?
in the John or something. Who the hell is
I
that?
wasn't in the John, but I
glimpse.
I like to visualize her in her nurse's uniform. Okay, it gets me through the 2 hours. All right?
Like in Kill Bill.
Well, Kayla, at least look at it this way. He's got you out of the candy striper uniform, so that's progress.
Hey, listen, we have a law enforcement officer in the room with us, so let's just kind of keep it on the down low. Our very good friend Chris Ahr, NCIS,
Hey.
actually, Aiden is back with us.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, you packing heat right now or what?
One wants to know if you're packing heat right now.
Always.
Oh,
Always.
Well, why do you have to ask?
I just want to hear him say it.
Chris, thanks for joining us again. You're down in Corpus Christi
I am for another month.
for another month, and then what's going to happen?
Up to San Antonio.
Really? Yeah. And where would you rather be?
Oh, San Antonio's home. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So Chris has been in the NCIS for how many years now? I'm going to guess 15 or so.
12 with NCIS and 3 with the DEA before that.
For the DEA.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and you live an exciting life, right?
Every day's an adventure for sure.
There you go. Okay. All right. And as it turns out, Chris is, we've known each other for a long, long time. And he's the inspiration for this new series of books that I have out called Codename Starman, The Adventures of Chris Ahr. The first book is called The Kalashnikov Kiss. Second book is called Sea of Moons, inspired by our friend Chris Ahr. And tonight, Nurse Kayla she's going to pick the 6 winners. The Goodreads people ran a contest for the first book. And they
Great website, by the way.
Yeah, they had opportunities
I
of...
didn't know you were a part of that. All of a sudden, I got this email from, hey, it's Mac.
Oh, yeah, me? Yeah, I wasn't me. Yes, there was the publisher probably. But anyway, so 12 or close to 1,200 people put their names in. We're going to pick 6 of the names tonight, okay, out of the magic fishbowl that Kayla has in front of her. Okay, are we ready for this, gang? Everyone get the script in front of them? Kayla, you have the list?
I do.
Okay, is there a little preamble? What did I write on the top there? Maybe so I don't have to read it.
Say that one more time.
There's a paragraph above the list of questions.
Yeah.
Explaining what we're doing. Can you read that?
Of course. All right. Winners of the Goodreads contest for a free copy of Codename Starman, the Kalashnikov. What is that?
Kalashnikov. Yep. Okay. So.
Okay.
So, like I said, what the publisher did, they spread out a promotion far and wide. If 1,100 people tried to get the free books, and we're going to pick 6 winners tonight, and we're going to sign the books and send them out to them. And Kayla has the names, and the magic fishbowl, and you're going to reach in and pick out the first one, please, Kayla.
All right, so the first one. Oh, I just touched a little fishy.
Oh.
Touch the what?
Lorian, little fish. They're
The
in
little fish.
bowl.
They're in the fishbowl.
Oh.
Wah, come on. You got to jet on the train with us, man.
I'm the blonde one. All right.
I thought that piranha in there. I was wondering if fingers and fishbowl.
She's the
Forget
blonde
about
one.
it.
Is perfect. Go ahead, please.
All right. So Lorian Flacco from Whitestone, New York.
Whitestone, New York. Okay. All right. Gets a free copy of the. We can plug it in, but we can sweeten it up. Okay. Next winner, please.
The next one is Leah Camarista.
Okay.
Oh, from Anticho, California.
Antioch, California. Okay.
Antioch.
Right. Okay. Yep. All right. West Coast reader. Okay. Next winner, please.
Bob the Ghost, pissed off wife.
Oh, she got it. Oh, I forgot to say the fishbowl got hacked by the Russians. Okay, and they're letting all these people
give her an ebook.
Right. That's right. Okay. Next winner, please.
All right. Diane Waston of Marion, Ohio.
Marion, Ohio. You know what?
Nice.
She lives in the same town as the Ghost Sisters. That's
Right.
strange.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Okay.
Probably know each other.
Yeah, maybe. We'll read the whole list at the end of the bit. But go ahead, please, Kayla.
All right. Little Billy, Tom Brady's fluffer.
Oh, that's
nice.
that's totally wrong. Inappropriate. Next one,
You
please.
stuffed the ballot box.
Sharon Locus of Lot, Wisconsin.
Okay, Wisconsin up there. That's near your friend.
Yeah.
His name we probably shouldn't mention. Okay, good. All right, congratulations. Next winner, please.
All right. Next winner is Dick Cheese.
Dick Cheese. He got in there again. Yeah, one. Next
Yeah.
one, please.
Damn it.
Chris, there's no reason to get the charge sheet. You can let that go.
Yeah, go ahead.
I promise we'll straighten up.
Next winner, please.
All right. Next one is going to be Chad Zhao of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Knoxville, Tennessee. Someone from down south. Good. Okay.
All right. The next one is the Black Bald Kid.
Oh, the black bald
and
kid. Wait.
final.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I have an error on that.
Okay. All right.
Hold on.
Is it a black eyed child that
Well,
tried to get
we were trying to go for that joke, but some of them don't land.
Sorry,
Okay.
I screenshot the question. Well, the people.
Okay.
The fish got it wet. Is that what you're
fish
saying? The
got
fish was
it.
nibbling on?
The fish ate. Yeah.
Yeah, my fish ate my
Fish
homework.
got it.
Go ahead.
All right. So the next one is going to be.
Reach in there now.
Yep.
Push the
I'm
fish out of the
going.
way.
All the way down.
I keep grabbing the goldfish.
Okay. I hope it's a goldfish. Go ahead.
Right. And then the cachalot. Oh, Christine LaRue. I read the wrong
Christine
side.
LaRue. Wow. Sounds
Elbert,
like.
California.
All right. Cool. All right. She's the last one.
Does our
Yep.
listenership
She's last.
skew kind of south?
South and west. Yeah, for sure. Yep. Could you just read the names, the legitimate names, off again, please, Kayla?
Yes, leave Mr. Cheese off.
Yeah. Didn't make sure we won't have to mention.
Let's see. So the real names are going to be.
Not that Bob the Ghost wife
No, right.
isn't a real person.
Right. We'll leave
or an
something
entity,
behind
But
her.
we're just, people can get the books too, without a priest.
Here we go.
All right. So Lorian Faco, Leah Camarista, Diane Watson, Sharon Locus, Chad Zella, and then the last one is Christine
LaRue. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, congratulations.
That's great.
Hope you enjoy
Fantastic.
the books. Now, thank you, everyone. Chris, let's get back to you. You haven't read the books yet, have you? Because I haven't sent them to you.
not, yeah.
Okay. All right. You're right. Believe me, you'll be getting them very soon.
I was hoping I was going to win.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, it would have happened, but the fishbowl was hacked. So
We got high security in that fishbowl, too. But it got hacked anyway.
we'd love to talk about your resume every time you're on because I'll do it really quickly. I mean, you've been in NCIS for almost 12 years, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. But during that time, you were a bodyguard for an admiral who was on safari for a long time, correct?
Yep, that was in Africa for CJTF HOA.
Okay. And then you were on a boat looking for Somali pirates for a while?
Yep, on the USS Mason. Yeah.
Okay. And then you went to Japan for a while, right?
Yep, did protection again for the 7th Fleet Admiral and investigations.
Okay, all right. You met your lovely wife there, correct? Okay, you picked her up in an elevator or something? There's some kind of funny story to it?
Yeah, she was doing the elevator for the Japanese Pentagon.
There you go.
She was working the elevator.
No, she wasn't working the elevator.
Oh.
She's, come on. What?
You know,
but he also...
They brought that back, you know, the lever thing.
Yeah, but
I remember that from the old Hudson stores downtown.
Oh, Jordan Marsh, but, you know, that's another show.
There's one in Boston Garden right now.
But then you got married on an aircraft carrier in Tokyo Bay, right?
We did, yeah, the USS George Washington.
That's
great ship.
Yeah, astounding. Okay, all right, must have been quite
That's
a
so
party.
cool.
And so now you're done in Texas, and you're doing investigations. I mean, the last time we talked, you were up in Chicago, or recently you're up in Chicago doing stuff.
Yeah, we have our field offices there. We're working a big a fraud case, so I've been helping out with that.
Mm-hmm. Did you catch the bad guys?
Still working on it. Yeah,
Okay.
we've got them identified, and hopefully we'll have big news breaking here pretty soon.
Really? Yeah. What was their transgression? What was their fraud? Can you tell us?
Yeah, so they're basically conning Navy and Marine Corps service members out of money from their Navy federal accounts.
Oh wow! Oh,
sending them fake funds and then emptying their bank accounts.
Is that right? Yeah, and so they're ripping off service people.
Yep, worldwide.
Wow! And it's in Chicago somewhere.
Yep. It's a criminal street gang in Chicago.
Oh well, okay. Are they Americans? Can I ask that?
Yeah.
Okay. So, is there a dollar figure on how much they've stolen? It's got to be millions, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we're over in the millions for now. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And you got you got the goods on them.
We do. Yep. So we're building our case and gather the information and collecting all the information out there, putting out to the fleet, to be aware of these things that are happening.
Yep. Okay. Did you have to go undercover?
Not for this one, I didn't. So,
Okay.
Just the nature of what we got. We've got people coming to us, saying they were victimized.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. And when you go undercover, do you enjoy that, or is it a little anxiety-ridden?
No, I love it. Yeah, it's always nerve-wracking. It's life and death, and it's the real deal. But it's certainly exhilarating and fun for what we're doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's unusual. You have a guy with bright red hair that enjoys going undercover.
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't probably supposed to mention what he looks like.
Hey, I'm sorry. First time Chris and I saw each other on the street in North End, both of us said, "Stick him up." You know what I mean? He looks like when I was in college, we used to buy stuff from him. And anyway, so hang on, cut that out. We can cut that out.
But that was back in college.
College, right, yeah, whenever that was, right?
Yeah, when Chris wasn't even born yet.
That's true. So, you're gonna stick around with the NCIS? You think, Chris?
Oh yeah. I'm definitely a career. So finally getting to my hometown. So kind of do the last couple of years there and settle down and retire.
Yeah. Wow. And what are you going to retire like at 20 years or something like that? One of those?
Yep. I got it. So we can mandatory at 57, but we can go after 20 years.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. And what are you going to do? Any idea what you would do for your encore career, as they say? Would you
do firearms? Yeah, I'm a firearms instructor, so work at a local range and teach and sell guns.
Okay. All right. You don't want to be an author or a book writer? You don't want to write books or anything?
I'll be the ghostwriter.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
He could be a correspondent on Mack Maloney's Military X-Files.
Well, there's no money in that, as we know, Switchy. But Chris, can you once you leave, you could still be an advisor to the TV shows, right?
Absolutely. So I do that right now. I consult all the scripts for the shows, and then we have on-scene advisors as well. So when I retire, I can do that full-time.
Right. Nice. Are there a lot of mistakes in the scripts? Do you have to correct a lot of stuff?
Just technical terms, things that Hollywood's not really familiar with, the things that kind of give us the authenticity, just kind of procedures.
Things that
Chris, do you find it you have sometimes to bend their will a little bit because they've just convinced themselves that they got some really great take on how something should be said or presented, and you say, okay, you can do it that way, but it's a complete, it's not, it doesn't fit how we do it.
Yeah, it's certainly a give and take. Obviously there's things that play better for TV and add to the drama, but they want the authenticity. So it's kind of like, what works and, what doesn't. So an example is like the jackets we wear are kind of like a nylon material.
Okay.
But it doesn't play on camera because it rustles with a microphone. So they went with a different style of jacket. And so like wearing gloves, and latex, for long periods of time is difficult. So
right. Do you watch the show?
I do. Yep. I'm a big fan.
Do you ever sit there and just go, those idiots, they goofed out?
No, they do a good job.
No, really? Yeah. Okay. All right. And
it's
do you,
our advantage too, because then people who watch the show think they have those capabilities. So
we're
like, hey, we can do this, and we can get your DNA within an hour.
Yes, right. Yeah, right. We've taken your DNA. We've done.
You mean we can't? What are you talking about?
It's like law and order. I mean, the New York cops say we can't do like 90% of the stuff that they show on Law and Order, like fake people that they have their DNA or they've studied your blood or whatever. But as long as people know it, can you I hate to use this word, but can you mislead a suspect to say we have your DNA and we're going to get it in 15 minutes? Could you mislead them?
Within reason, yeah, we are allowed to lie and deceive them. But there's certain lines we can't cross, like we can't fabricate evidence. We can imply that it's there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do people fall for that?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes. I mean, the theory is, guilty people, have that knowledge and, they're whatever it takes them to get them to tell the truth. So we encourage them to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you ever read the transcript of the people who were interrogating Lee Harvey Oswald? Just curious.
I haven't. No.
One of the things, I had to read it for something, and one of the things that was interesting is that one of the interrogators, there were two Dallas detectives who were known as good interrogators, and they would just kind of switch off on them, and keep their notes. And both of them said he told the truth about everything except the gun. All right, everything else, and they knew 90% of what he was telling them. They'd already known it, but when they asked about the gun, he started lying about it. And that's how they knew he was involved, So that was kind of interesting that they would pick up on something like that. Should I be as amazed as I am for something like that? Is that a breakthrough?
No, I mean, it's a lot of those little details. People want to minimize their involvement, and so you got to pick up on the clues and then kind of use the details to kind of build it and get them to expand on that.
Mm-hmm. How long does an interrogation usually last? One wants to know.
Yeah, it depends. Some are simple, and, if they lawyer up, we're out of there in 5 minutes.
Okay. All right.
But some can go, 8, 10, 15 hours.
I could see Juan going 8, 10, 15. You'd tire the guy out. He'd let you go. Right?
Hey, any torture involved?
Come on, torture. Just mental.
Water dripping on your head, like being tied up to a chair, water dripping on your head.
So, that's inappropriate.
No? I thought that was okay to do.
So, and we also should mention that you went to Texas A&M, and you got a theater degree, and it helps you a lot when you're interrogating people, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that human interaction and thinking on your feet and improvisation, communicating skills, mirroring.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell someone who's guilty just walking in the room, they did it, or are they all? I mean, isn't everyone guilty by the time they get to you?
I'd like to think so. I mean, a lot of times we'll get allegations, but by the time we bring someone in, we've already done our homework. We've gotten evidence. We've gotten video. We've gotten the DNA back, corroboration. So it's usually just the opportunity for them to tell the truth.
Right, yeah. And how many crack? What percentage crack?
Oh, 100%.
Do they really? All right.
Chris,
get a career after NCIS.
Give the audience an understanding how long an investigation usually goes. You guys work a long time.
We do, yeah. I mean,
and you juggle a couple cases at a time, if my understanding is correct.
Yeah. So the average case probably goes anywhere from 8 months to 2 years.
Wow.
From the time we get the initial allegation, the time it goes to court. Average is about, I would say, 13, 14 months.
Really?
When that's a regular routine case, but we're carrying anywhere from 8 to 20 cases at a time.
So what are the bad guys doing in that 2 years? I mean, just sweating it out.
Yeah, so it depends. So if it's the military system, they're usually on legal hold. They're not doing their actual jobs; they're doing something else or waiting.
Yep.
If it's severe crime, they're in pretrial confinement, so they're sitting in the brig, and those cases go a little bit quicker. But usually sometimes we have to wait, for a long time before we even talk to the person. So we're just still tracking down witnesses on ships and in other countries and deployments and waiting on lab results.
Do you feel that other service people are helpful to you, or do they kind of look at you as, a cop?
It's a mix. The military is kind of an interesting thing. They have good order and discipline, so we're kind of like the trashmen. We're taking away like the dead weight and things that are preventing them from doing their mission, so it helps.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But at the same time, if someone's well liked within the command or they're a stellar sailor Marine, and we're taking them away, then we have a little bit of resentment there too. So it's kind of a all across the board.
Is it mostly people in the lower ranks, or do you ever get to bust admirals or anything like that?
Oh yeah, no, it's everything from E1 to O10. So I mean, we've had admirals who've been linked up in some major scams and child cases and sex assaults and thefts, and we've had guys right out of boot camp who are doing horrible things. So
right,
no one's immune.
Right. Do you ever Does it ever weigh on you? Do you know what I mean? Does it ever keep you up at night, some of the stuff?
Sometimes there are some cases that are really hard to work, child cases. A lot of suicides are really sad, tragic situations.
Right, yeah.
But also knowing that we're helping and, serving the military, by, doing that service to them is really beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
Well, can you explain the stance that the Navy uses a separate command structure for NCIS where the Army and the Air Force use internal components?
Sure. Yeah, so it was a piece back in the 90s, Tailhook, where there was a bunch of pilots that were involved in some illegal activity. Yeah. And the Navy at the time, NCIS, worked for a Navy captain and under a Navy structure. And the Navy kind of directed NCIS to, gloss over this, not work it, dismiss the cases. And, Congress and the Secretary of the Navy, took exception to that and formed NCIS, so kind of an independent civilian agency that's free of command influence. Mm-hmm. Whereas like the Army and the Air Force have active duty investigators that still fall under the military chain of command.
Right. So it's an unusual situation. Just the Navy is the only one who has something like this, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
So we fall under directly for the Secretary of the Navy, but we have civilian arrest authority, so we can work on civilians off base as well, and work in state crimes and federal cases.
Oh, too. You can. Okay, so you can do what a military investigator can't do. In other words, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So they can't work off base. They can't arrest civilians. Mm-hmm. So we can do both. We work in the Uniform Code of Military Justice and also federal and state law, and also overseas.
Well, I just want to plug my books a little more. They're inspired by Chris Ahr's adventures around the world. Now, let's see, Chris, you can tell me, true or false, have you been to Ireland with a beautiful Irish detective looking for an IRA guy? Yes or no?
What happens in Dublin stays in Dublin.
There you go. Okay, the guests do him at Dublin.
That would have been Belfast, Chris, so I think you kind of gave it away just a teeny tiny bit.
Well, I won't ask him if he chased Chinese spies in Tahiti. All right. So, well, listen, Chris, thanks so much for joining us, and thank you for giving me the information to, create these books. Codename Starman, The Kalashnikov Kiss, and also Sea of Moons. And
that's an exciting gig he's got, isn't it?
It's great. Yeah. Well,
that's,
TV show
10-episode Netflix stuff right there.
Right. Yeah. Everything you could write something, Chris. You think you could write something?
Just flesh something out. A flesh out. It's just.
Your real adventures might be interesting instead of
memoirs and
flying the shuttle. Yeah, I think just the whole safari thing. There's a third of the book right there. Didn't you kill a rhino or something because he was charging the admiral? Didn't we talk about that before?
That's right. With my 9 right between the eyes.
What's you could do a chapter big on Mack Maloney's military X-Files.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's at least one chapter. Anyway, Chris, thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. Thanks for joining us. He's a busy guy.
Fascinating stuff.
And I'm going to send you a book. I got the books, and there'll be one out to you tomorrow, okay?
Outstanding. I can't wait.
Okay, brother. Thank you very much. And I mean it. Thank you for everything, for all the help you've given me. So,
no, my pleasure. Always fun coming on.
Why don't we take a commercial break now?
All right.
And we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Mill Track Sauce Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network.
Imagine you knew what was going to happen 2 seconds before it happened. Imagine you lived with the world's most beautiful supermodel. Imagine you drove a Jaguar with machine guns behind the headlights. Well, it's time to stop dreaming and start reading about Navy Lieutenant Chris Ahr, hero of Mack Maloney's new best-selling paranormal detective series, Codename Starman. Who murdered the most beautiful T-girl in San Diego? Who's bombarding a small Massachusetts town with heavy artillery on Christmas Eve? Who's causing the mass murder of terrorists in the jungles of Africa? These are the cases Lieutenant Chris Ahr must solve in the Kalashnikov Kiss, the first book in Mack's exciting new series, Codename Starman. Follow the Starman as he uses his psychic abilities to crack cases the U.S. Navy has declared too unusual. Find out why the Pentagon calls him the X-Files guy. And what is the wormhole anyway? To find out, get your own tomato can and be ready for action, strange adventures, paranormal activity, and lots of cover models in Codename Starman, The Kalashnikov Kiss by Mack Maloney. On sale now at Amazon and your local bookstore.
back, everyone. Mack Maloney's Military Exile Show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Wow. We are in the middle of quite a show. But first, girls, he's here. He's dressed like a beatnik, a retro beatnik, as it turns out. The very famous Juan.
Hello, Mac. Hello, girls. How's everything going tonight? Welcome to the show. If you just joined us, welcome. If you've been hanging in there for a while,
see right into that.
What are you drinking?
What am I drinking? Now, you said earlier you had a good week. What's that mean?
I chilled a lot, okay?
Chilled a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't want to exercise my brain too much.
I see. Okay, giving it a rest. Yeah, giving the intellect, the genius a
Catching
rest.
up on some Netflix stuff.
Good. Really, yeah? Is that how you feed your brain? Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Up there in the Great White North, looking out the slits of his bunker at the rest of us. They know him as Coco on the street. We know him as Commander Coco.
As always, good evening, and thank you, Mac. Always my privilege. Flying on the wing.
Wow. Okay. I'd talk
he
more.
Looks good doing it, too.
I'd talk more to you, but I have to get to our national correspondent and his wallpaper. Luckily, this is a radio show. It has what looks like a pornographic picture of a nurse. Now, Switchy.
No.
Obviously, you didn't see the picture before this. This is not the pornographic picture.
I'm sorry.
This was provided by Commander Cobra.
Put my shades on.
This is a World War I nurse, right?
Right. Okay.
Wholesome World War I nurse in honor of our special co-host.
That's good. That's attractive to a lot of guys. Switch your a bowl of Frosted Flakes into the day, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And also a donut. How many donuts you get at Sweetwater's? You went to Sweetwater's. What is it? The donut of what is it? Our official donut. The official donut shop.
Mack Maloney's Military Expo.
Okay. Right. All right.
I couldn't have said it better.
Did you? How many donuts you get?
I got 4.
4.
I had one.
Yes.
While I was driving in the car.
Go ahead.
Going to my next destination.
Which was another donut shop.
For tonight, which I consumed on air.
Wow. Okay. Yes. All right.
I have 2 more that are in the refrigerator that I will tomorrow morning.
Hey.
I will just put in the microwave for just a few seconds.
Yes.
And I will have them for breakfast with a couple cups of hot black coffee.
Wow. Okay. Now breakfast. What? I'm looking at like 10:38. 11 a.m. or so? You're a late riser?
It depends. Sometimes I'm burning the midnight oil, and I am up a ways, up late. Okay. So I'm anywhere from 8:30 to 10.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
Sometimes earlier. It just. But lately, I've been working on some projects and watching DVDs while I'm working on them.
Okay. All right. Do you want to tell us what the projects are? Or are they top secret?
Well, they're actually posters. They are 20 by 30-inch posters that look like the old UFO magazines of the 70s.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah,
they look a lot like a UFO Report. I call it UFO Review.
Yep.
But at first glance, people would think it's actually that. But they're aimed at one of them is aimed at the Mothman Festival.
Cool.
And the other one is the theme is the Van Meter Festival. So consequently, there's a lot of sort of inside jokes and sort of fake articles that you might see in one of these old magazines. But the idea is to be a little bit of a spoof, a little bit of tongue-in-cheek, and you get a lot of names in there of people that will recognize other people at these events.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. Switch, you ever think of doing one about the show, or is that a little too close to home?
I could. I do it old school.
Okay.
There's, some people know how to use computers and graphic art, but these are actually all done by hand and sort of a montage. So it's a distinct possibility.
Sounds like a no to me.
No, it's not a no. It's a
distinct possibility. Is what his lawyer said.
He's saying he's busy.
Yes, that's his
way. As Chris was bringing up. He's lawyered up, Mac.
He's lawyered up.
The interview is over.
Well, okay. All right. Thank you, Switchy, for that. Luckily, we have a nurse in the house with us tonight in case anything goes wrong. Our good friend, Nurse Kayla, also up there in Maine. Nurse Kayla, how you doing?
Hi, Nurse.
Good. Hello. I'm good. How are you?
So excellent. Thank you.
You told us earlier.
Nurse Kayla, could you give us a holistic medical read of the show so far? You've been monitoring our life condition here for a bit. How's our sign looking?
Go ahead. One at a time.
Your temperature gauge is going up. The show's on fire.
The show's on fire. There you go. We'll use that as a bumper. Okay. All right. And
that sounds like good news, right? Show's on fire?
Show's on fire, yeah.
Actually, it's on fire because one is actually reading a book, and I have photographic evidence of the fact that he's actually reading a Mack Maloney
We are
book.
videoing it.
Is it right side up, though?
Yeah, well, let's not go too far. Let's not zoom in.
It's very small print.
Really
very small
print.
print.
Happy he's had it open.
He was looking at the pictures. So Nurse Kayla, now you're on your road to being a nurse, right? On the road to being a nurse?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And what's the grossest? No, I don't want to say what the grossest thing you've done. I mean,
she's had a couple of dandies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that. How about the best thing you've ever done? Does that apply anyway? Do you ever see people? I mean, you ever see people?
How about the surgery nurse, Kayla?
Oh, yeah, seeing a gastric bypass surgery.
Okay, that's all right.
That was
cool.
That was cool. She likes blood, right?
It was all robotic.
You're kidding me? Yeah, really?
It was so cool. Yep. So the surgeon, he was Russian, and very nice guy. And then there was just 4 incisions in the abdomen, and he was on the opposite side of the operating room, and he was like in a virtual reality.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So he was in, like, his head was inside of the computer, and he had pedals and robotic arms.
Wow.
And he let me put my face in, like, the virtual reality, and it just looked, everywhere you looked, it was just 3D, like you were actually inside.
And so the patient then is on the table, and there's actually a robot doing the operation then, right?
Yep, there's 2 nurses, and they change out the tools for him. Yep. And one's holding the camera in one of the incisions in the patient's abdomen.
Okay.
It was pretty incredible.
And why is that an advantage over the doctor being in there himself?
Well, less complications.
Okay.
Not a big like incision.
Right.
You don't have to cut them all the way
Plus,
open.
he could really be anywhere, right?
He had like yep. He I could go on and on. The liver was in his way, so he picked up the liver with his little hands and sewed the liver onto her abdomen so he could work.
Wait, it sewed it onto her abdomen.
To see him suture with little hands was incredible.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. Oh, but I mean, seriously, he could be in Russia doing this in Boston, right?
Yep. Cobra knows the little hands.
Cobra knows the little hands. I'm sure he does. Luckily, we're a radio show. So, well, that's interesting. That's great. And the fact that you kind of like it, I think, is interesting, too. Oh, yeah. I loved it. It was very cool.
Hope the internet didn't go out.
Oh, there you go.
Could you imagine if you had latency problems and it was slow, like our slow Zoom calls?
Well, that's what happens if the the power goes out?
That's why they do it in the same room back. They don't do it over the phone.
You can just rush over and take them. I think that's fascinating. I think that's really kind of crazy. But that's the world we live in. So, well, that's good, Kayla. So why don't we do this? We've been threatening to do a segment on the haunted aircraft carrier, and I think now is the time. Okay. The aircraft carrier, let me see if I could do the elevator pitch. Coco, you ready? Because I know you know more about this than I do, even though it's in my book, UFOs in Wartime, on sale everywhere. Right after the war, right after World War II, there was an aircraft carrier. I forget exactly what its original name was, but...
It was actually, I believe, going to be the Midway.
Okay, so the Midway that had been, that's what they usually do. If a ship sinks, they'll name another ship after it. Anyway, FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, had just died, so they named this aircraft carrier after him, right? So
President Truman directed to change it.
To change it. So it had a lot of odd things. Okay, it wasn't nuclear power, but it was the first aircraft carrier to have nuclear weapons on board. That's one thing. It wasn't really in the war. It was christened right at the end of the war. So it was around for quite a while, but it was definitely a post-war carrier. And it had a lot of things. I mean, it had a lot of cruises, and it had a lot of assignments to hotspots. It was.
It was a big time Cold War ship. I mean, it was it spent most of its career in the Med.
Right, with the Sixth Fleet in the Mediterranean. But anyway, so what happened basically was, in the early 50s, when NATO was this newly established alliance, everyone in the world, basically except the communist bloc, they all got together for this secret operation or a maneuver in the Atlantic called Operation Main Brace. Okay. And this whole thing, it's a story in itself. And that many ships during this thing, it was like 3 weeks long. It was from Newfoundland to Norway, literally. And there were just a lot of UFOs that were spotted during this. It was involved in that. Then it goes its own way. Then it goes, and it looks like it used to, it would do some time in the Med, and then I think they'd send it almost like an around-the-world tour, because it would go to, Japan, and then it would go to Chile, and then it would go to Rio de Janeiro, then Cuba. It's almost like making its way around the world. But in the 20 years, let's say this thing was, sailing around the world and doing these assignments, there were just many, many UFO sightings, not just by the sailors, but also picked up by the radar on the ship. Because it was an aircraft carrier. Obviously, you had airplanes in the air almost all the time. They saw UFOs. It was in Cuba once, down at Guantanamo Bay, where Juan Juan was.
Exactly.
Okay, not as a prisoner. And, in like everyone is like coming back to the ship. It's the last day in port or whatever, and so there's a lot of people there.
Yep.
And this UFO just comes down, very bright light, comes down. Lots of people see it. It disappears, and the ship already had this kind of reputation of UFOs showing up, and they say that they were taken aside by whatever the Navy equivalent would be. That wouldn't be NCIS officers, it'd be like naval intelligence. Who would slap these guys around and tell them to keep quiet there?
Well,
probably the
Marines.
Naval intelligence.
There's a lot of Marines that kind of
maybe the Marines, yeah. But anyway,
stand guard over everything.
They made it clear to everyone in the crew, we're not going to talk about this. And they had another kind of sighting. Actually, in Rio de Janeiro, they had a sighting. Then to Cuba, they had a sighting. And this thing the UFOs just seemed to follow this ship for some reason. And some people think it's because it had nuclear weapons on it. The first ship that would have nuclear weapons. Who knows? But anyway, the crowning chapter of this is that this thing is back in the Mediterranean. Okay, this is, I think, 62. I'm just grabbing these out of the from the research I did years ago, and their radar sees what is like an armada of unknown airplanes coming towards the aircraft carrier. So the first thing they do is they just launch everything, right? And these were F-4s at the time, pre-Vietnam, but they were flying F-4s. And they went up and they saw these things. They had the radar, the radar indications. The ship sees them. They're coming right towards the ship. They can't stop them. They think, they don't know what they are. Okay, they're not thinking UFOs. They're thinking Russians or Russian secret weapons or something like that. And then they all of a sudden just disappeared. It came down right onto the ship, almost like to say, we can get in here. Nothing's going to stop us. And then, boom, they were gone. Just hundreds of people, not only saw this, but they saw it electronically too. And they record it and stuff. And then, whoever, naval intelligence, whatever came, took all the information away, and that was it. And then they must have retired the ship right after that. It must have been retired in the 60s, I'm guessing, that Coco. World War II ship. Yep. So do you have anything to fill in? That was an elevator pitch, but the elevator broke down. So,
well, there's a couple of interesting aspects I always think that comes up when we talk about this. Obviously, and I was incorrect, Mac, it was supposed to be the Coral Sea. The next ship in the class returned to the Coral Sea, but because of the death of FDR, crewmen felt that it was appropriate to name the ship, and it was always known, its nickname was the Rosie. Most of the carriers get a nickname based on their name. It was always referred to as the Rosie.
Okay.
The other thing that's interesting about this is the ship came to an end. It probably had more life in it, but they were trying to bring the nuclear Nimitz class out at that time, and the Navy felt, and this is something that services go against. If they could keep this ship going, would it delay the building of the new carrier? And that's what they were really concerned about. They wanted to make sure they got that ship up into the capability, and they wanted those to take over because they don't need to have fueling with oil and things like that. They're using the nuke portion of it.
Right. Sure.
So that's one thing. The other part that's really, I think, plays an important part into your other book is that British and the Japanese would sacrifice air groups to defend aircraft carriers.
Interesting.
And the United States, even when we made small carriers, this was a CV Bravo TDB, number 42, the U.S. Navy just simply went larger. They made a ship 45,000 tons capable of displacement, 33 knots, and they could carry up to 120 aircraft. And I remember I think it's midway through the Wingman series when he goes to the alternate play out on the planet where they have you envision those giant aircraft carriers. Remember they had the huge, and that's what the Navy actually tried to build. They wanted to make aircraft carriers that could carry a full-size bomber, and you explore that in the books. But that's always the way the Navy has gone.
Coming back to me now, approach. Right. Yeah, there was after World War II. There was definitely this idea that bigger was better. Okay, it didn't last too long.
They could not launch and recover all 120 aircraft if they carried it. They tried and they could never, because it became a jam up.
Yep.
And they could never do it blue water, which is the real mark of being able to run an aircraft carrier operation, is where you don't have a land divert base.
White water is near shore. Blue water is out in the ocean.
You are. When you're at blue water, you are definitely the ship is everything that's going on there.
Right. Yeah.
So that's some interesting stuff about this particular ship, this particular class, when it's set, it through. Obviously, the delivery of nukes by small aircraft. Many of them in the beginning were propeller-driven. Sky Raiders were a nuke delivery aircraft. The Able Dog was called the AD in those days before it became known as the Sky Raider of Vietnam fame. So you have all those things that go on, and this one just seems to have an inordinate amount of UFO activity that was reported.
Right.
I think there's a lot more UFO activity that's gone on, and this whole thing, when you look back at it, especially in the light of what went on with the Nimitz off Southern California, reported in 17 what occurred in 2007 or so, it makes you wonder what else has been seen, what else has gone on, because the key facts seen on radar, recorded, men in black that show up in Navy uniforms, just like men in black kind of activity that show up in Air Force uniforms. And with Chris talking about that before, it's interesting, those crowds, those people that always show up to make sure that everything is properly documented and then cataloged and removed.
Yeah, interesting. Yes,
It's been going on a long time. There's a parallel aspect to this. Every ship I've been on for any length of time that's been a kind of a world cruising ship, a ship that moves long distances, seems to have some ghost-related story to it.
Interesting.
I could never find anything about the Franklin D. Roosevelt having any kind of ghost-related activity.
Wow.
Many other carriers, many other ships, usually when they've lost crew members, has had those kinds of events. But this ship, with all its notoriety, all the things that it did, all the things it participated in, nothing.
Why? I wonder why. Do you think because they've probably scrubbed the records or something? I mean, that's odd. You think it would have all kinds of kind of haunted things going on?
Or do you think it's because there was so much that's gone on with the UFO phenomena that this ship has experienced with all those crews turning over? And I think Switch can probably lend a lot of credence as well as Lund one. They get on a ship, and those that are there before can tell you all the stories of the guys that were there before them.
Yes.
About what happened
that's what I mean.
Cruise,
Right. Yeah.
What happened 10 years ago, what they were seeing, what's going on. I think that there's a lot to that.
So the crew coming in has to, in 20 years, you have to have a turnover of almost 20 times, right? Let's say, basically.
Every year, part of the crew turns over.
Okay, so
constantly turning the crew over every year.
So the new people coming on, they're going to hear about this.
Absolutely. And you're going to hear it as scuttlebutt. You're going to hear it as deck plate talk. You're going to hear it in your rooms, in your workspaces. For the pilots and those folks up in the ready rooms, the air crews are up there talking. There's a lot going on. Aircraft carriers, big ships are cities. They're cities at sea, and they have everything that goes on in a city is the same that goes on.
Right. These days, what they call super carriers, right? They have up to 5,000, maybe even more than 5,000 people on board. Okay, half of them run the ship, half of them basically run the airplanes. But they have these enormous cafeterias. They give, I think, 4 meals a day. 4 meals a day.
That's pretty standard. There's about 6 to 8 places to eat on a super carrier.
Okay, so you're talking about there's 5,000 people who are eating at least 3 times a day, maybe 4. You're preparing food for 15,000 people a day. Day after day. I mean, it's probably much more than that, because you have those mid-rats. Is that the, so you're
mid-rats is your 4th meal. Yep. That's the 4th official.
20,000 people a day. I mean, who does that? What restaurant? No restaurant comes even close to anything like that. A restaurant chain probably doesn't come close to it. Yet the food is actually pretty good, right? Or is that just a myth?
It's good.
Is it really?
No, it's good, right?
That's interesting. They have good food too. So,
and this is
you have to have good food. Right. There's a lot of things that you're giving up on a ship. I think Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens put it that the difference between time in prison and time at sea, time in prison was a lot more fun. So, better have good meals.
Okay, all right.
And this was 1952. So it was 47 when the big craze started, where Kenneth Arnold had his sighting, and the newspapers went crazy for a while. So it's almost like people were prepared for this a little bit, at least, But of course, I don't know how how much this got reported at the time, if at all, in the mainstream press.
Right. People's attitudes were different back then. Their attitudes back then was because we didn't know as much back then as we do now about, let's say, outer space. Okay, so I mean, the idea that there might be another civilization on Mars to the average person. Why not? You know what I mean? We're here. Why wouldn't they be there?
And the people would say that sightings would peak supposedly when Mars was closer to the Earth.
There you go.
So and Mars and even Venus was talked about as a credible possibility for the source to some of these things.
Right.
I think a big part of this is that at the end of World War II and trying to put together a broken planet, which was fractured in many areas, the United States being the only place that was really intact, North America intact. You think about the kinds of breakthroughs that came out. Talk about the German wonder weapons, the atomic bomb being developed, the Manhattan Project. They still weren't even slipping about the Manhattan Project, but they were talking about, how could they have created this in the level of secrecy? And that prevails everything. It permeates every part of what's going on, because now we know that there is no end to this war. This war, all we're doing is changing players. Now we're splitting up between the Allies, and we're choosing sides on that one. And are we headed to another peace? Korea comes right up after that. I mean, it's amazing when you think about the time that's going on.
Okay.
And then these devices, these sightings, these experiences are going on.
I'm looking at one. He looks confused.
It worries me what you say, because it has a kind of a foreboding sense of all these things are coming together at the same time. Predicted in the Bible, and all this strife that is predicted is our fleets.
What?
They're out there. Our fleet against somebody else's fleet.
Okay. Oh, really? Yeah.
It's out there, and not looking for trouble, but it's out there, and that's why there's so many deployments.
Years ago, I interviewed a psychiatrist for the Veterans Administration. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
And she told me all kinds of stories, and. But I said to her something like, what surprises you or something? She said, what I'm surprised at is that, civilizations have been around for about 25,000 years, okay? I mean, civilization, writing, grouping in cities, stuff like that, where you're... And she says, since then, there's been so much written out of our DNA, okay, as we learn, as we grow, as we have accumulated knowledge, and as we kind of change ourselves...
Right.
Yeah, your DNA kind of drains out of you, stuff you don't need, okay? She says that what I can't figure out is why the war-making gene has never... you know what I mean? Hasn't been drained out
at the forefront
with everything else, yeah. And from her point of view, because, being a psychiatrist, you can tell what's wrong with everybody, okay? And, some things are isolated, some things aren't, but the war-making gene...
I think it's part of the survival instinct
kind
where
of
we
like
think that to survive...
I guess.
To survive, we need more territory.
Well, it seems to be the impetus for a lot of breakthroughs in technology. Medicine, psychiatry, that's a lot of it's kick in the butt to develop things because of dealing with the clash of culture. So, and warfare is, in the middle of that. Medicine advances because of that. It doesn't surprise me that gene hasn't clicked out.
Well, but it'd be nice if it did, right?
We should ask our medical guest tonight what her thoughts are.
Nurse Kayla, how many people you see are really kind of nuts? Would you say 1 out of 10?
You keep Commander Cobra out of that social network of nuts. Okay.
People not on the show. I mean, do you run into people who are just really kind of crazy?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yep.
But crazy is really relative to your point of view.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay.
People we think are crazy.
I don't know, one. I think sometimes you can call crazy just crazy.
Yeah. Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are just nuts, but some crazy.
Miss Gill was
just
putting herself through school, and she worked in retail. So I really think
that
anybody here can have a pretty good idea of what crazy is.
Yeah, you're not going to see it
retail
in those two places.
Where do you work, Kayla?
I work at Lowe's.
Lowe's.
Okay, that's crazy. Yeah,
that's crazy. Just working there is crazy. So, Nurse Kayla, when you become a nurse, what are you going to be? Are you going to be at a hospital? Are you going to be in a doctor's office?
I like to be at a hospital.
Really? Yeah, like the emergency ward.
I think emergency would be fun. But I really like the OR right now.
OR. Oh, the operating room. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Wow. Huh.
So far, that's been my favorite.
Yeah, really? Yeah.
She wants to be right into it, deep, all the way.
One just handed me a note. What kind of uniform do you wear? He wants to know.
Ugly green hunter. Well, ugly hunter green color.
Like scrubs?
Yep.
Oh, he's into that, though.
But they're like a unisex.
Unisex. Oh.
No shape to them.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's in his mind. So why don't we do this? Okay, so that's...
Leaves everything to the imagination.
I don't know how we got down that road. The USS FDR, very interesting ship. And then didn't they scrap it there, Coco, or something? Didn't they?
Yes, they did. And it's interesting that, as I said, there's definitely some political pushings behind it. Mm-hmm. This ship also was instrumental in the bringing the 88B Harrier jet to sea. It was the principal carrier that they used for the operational deployments.
That's the jet that takes off horizontally.
Why there was such an impetus for this ship to go away.
Yeah. Well, it was the last...
Again, I think in part when they were trying hard to bring on a new class of ships, and they wanted the capabilities, that this was going to be a victim of it. I can tell you this, and I've read this in 3 or 4 other places, and I agree with it. If that ship was in the mothball fleet,
yes,
when President Reagan came in and did the expansion, I think they would have broken out like they did the Iowa and Wisconsin, and I think they would have put her back to sea, and I think it would have had far-reaching implications to the nuclear carrier Navy.
See, it's kind of funny, and we could almost do a segment on this, because the U.S. Navy actually has 2 navies, okay, when it comes to aircraft carriers. They have these big, enormous, super-duper carriers. And I saw a picture of the Gerald Ford the other day. Have you ever seen that thing?
Right. Yeah.
It's like a quarter mile long. It has 2, doesn't it have 2 conning towers, 2 superstructures or something in it, or it's way down the bottom?
Yeah, it has 2 kinds of towers on it. Yep.
I mean, it's really just this massive aircraft carrier, okay? And you just see it, and you just, it's overwhelming. But they also have this thing called the Gator Navy. And what correct. It is, they look like aircraft carriers, but they're smaller. And if you put them side by side, there's no comparison. But basically what they launch is Harriers, horizontal jet, the Osprey, which is...
they're actually putting the F-35.
F-35 is also horizontal.
I should say B, excuse me.
Helicopters. And this all takes place on the deck, and then below you have Marines coming out in these hovercraft. I mean, to see them, it's crazy, okay? It's to see them in maneuvers.
So these are like quick deployment missions.
Yeah, it's like their Marine expeditionary missions is what they call. So one of these shows up in your backyard.
They are the amphibious ship of the Marine Corps. With the capability of the F-35 on board now, they usually carry, I think, 6, a complement of 6 on there. These are able to do all the coverage going, over the horizon and all of it.
Right. Yeah. And like if you're causing trouble or you're in trouble and one of these ships shows up, offshore, you're either going to feel really bad or really good, because in there you get really like a little Air Force, and you got probably, I don't know how many Marines, probably a couple battalions of Marines on those hovercrafts there, Coco, probably 2,000 guys or so.
Yeah, there's probably upwards to those kinds of numbers. They have all the advanced LCACs that can deploy from them. And remember that ship, the amphibious assault carrier, is in a small battle group of its own with other ships for amphibious warfare, plus usually some kind of destroyer to cruiser type of capability to give them air cover. And they're usually on the periphery of a larger carrier battle group. They're not, they work independently.
Yeah, it's a real interesting...
If they sail that, it puts a different kind of spin that they go into the war between Taiwan and the People's Republic of China.
Right.
That presents a different kind of situation in the numbers of people that could actually envelop an area,
right?
And the capability, and they can sustain themselves on that, and that can pull all kinds of resources to respond to that. And then you have the carrier steam up in another part,
right?
And then of course, in all this is Steve's old alumni in the subs, working their aspects of all the things that are going on below, from everything from reconnaissance to the attack sub doing, they can do deep strike.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting. It's like the Marines. The Marines are the Navy's army. Okay, that's the Marines are the Navy's army, but. These little Gator Navy, that's almost like the Marines Navy, if you know what I mean, right? I mean, it's basically all put together for the Marines, right?
Correct. And all the other types of ships that go with that. And they often refer to this as littoral warfare. These are vessels that get close to the shore. This is not a capability that needs to be out in the blue sea, because you're not going to be able to make it. This is to get the ability to put people on the beach. A lot of times when you hear about embassies that are under siege and need to be recovered, this is why you'll hear Marine helicopters. And this is how they get into position to do it.
Right, yeah. And there, I mean, there's probably, about 8 or 9 of them? I know the USS Baton Rouge is one, and just an interesting...
Yeah, I've lost track of the number, but I think that's probably correct, Max. We're probably someplace between 8 and 11, 8 and 12 of those.
Yeah, it's like their own little powerful little, in one ship has
They're very capable, very, very capable ship. And they're very popular. That type of ship is very popular with the European and Asian navies because they use a Harrier or a vertical takeoff and landing type aircraft.
Yeah.
The difference that you find with them is they'll put a ski jump on their their ships to help augment, but they don't use them with many land capable forces. They'll put lots of vertical takeoff and landing fighter type aircraft on board, but they don't use the catapult system. And that's one of the things I wanted to mention. We just talked about the Gerald Ford.
Yes.
The Gerald Ford, and I forgot the other class in there. Is it in that same class?
Okay.
They're trying to make the transition from a steam catapult to an electrical or electronic drive system.
Yeah, wow.
Which will not require them to power steam, and they could just very quickly run it with a very large electric drive system.
Right.
And there's lots of issues that continue with that.
Right.
That's huge, though, for how quickly you can launch. And that's what this is all about.
Yeah,
you want to be able to launch quickly. You want to be able to launch quickly, stop for an emergency, so an aircraft takes off and has to come right back and land. They can do that. They can bring the aircraft in and immediately go back to resuming the launch. Because if you miss an aircraft getting into that package, something has changed. The spares, there's all those things that are standing by.
Right.
The quicker you get them in the air, the less fuel you're burning, the less tanker time you have.
The steam catapults that we have now can throw a F-18 from 0 to 120 in 2 seconds.
Wow.
You talk about Lambos and stuff, but
the Hornet isn't that heavy. When you think back to the catapults that were launching, things like A3s, F4s that were fully laden, it's absolutely amazing what they did and how they did it. And there's a very interesting tradition. If you spend time on the carrier, they'll take you into the room, and you can stand on a line, and you can actually see the bottom part of that catapult coming at you, and to see if you can stay on the line.
See if you can take it.
Interesting little rite of passage.
That'd be fun. Hey, Kayla, are you still awake?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So why don't we do this? Why don't we take a commercial break now, and we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Miltrax, our show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
I was in the hospital with my son for 18 months.
When he got injured, I wasn't prepared, but I knew I had to be strong.
When I was told about John's injury, I was in complete shock. I just remember rushing into his room and giving him a big hug and letting him know I was there.
These veterans and families are just a few of the heroes we serve at Homes for Our Troops. For thousands of severely injured veterans, everyday life is filled with barriers.
It was really the little things throughout the house. Counters that you can't roll up to. I had to drag my wheelchair down steps.
I want to help, but he is so determined.
At Homes for Our Troops, we build specially adapted custom homes with features like wheelchair access, roll-in showers, and automatic door openers that allow them to function independently and focus on their recovery and family.
This house is freedom. It's hope. It's a new beginning.
This house has given me my family back.
To learn more, visit hfotusa.org.
We went to Mack Maloney's Miltrax show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Mack Maloney. Wow, what a show we have for you tonight. But first, girls, he's here, and he's dressed like Retro Beatnik, if that's possible.
Where's my bongos?
There you go. He needs bongos, right. Bring your bongos. Until then, we'll clap for you with we'll snap our fingers to you then. Okay, the very famous Juan is here.
Hello, girls. Hello, Mac. This has been a weird show so far.
It's been a very strange show. Is it because we have someone from the medical profession here with us, maybe?
A lady from the medical
constrained.
profession.
Anyway. Up there in the, talk about constrained, up there, but that doesn't mean he doesn't like it. Up there in the great state of Maine, the Great White North, in his bunker, looking out at the rest of us, peasants, Commander Cobra. Coco, how you doing?
Good evening, gentlemen. As always, pleasure to be part of the stellar.
Stellar, definitely.
Okay.
Award-winning.
I don't have my shades on. Hang on. It's not stellar yet.
My shades on.
Here we go. So what are you drinking there tonight? Coco? for Coco?
I actually had a little bourbon earlier this evening.
Oh, wow. Really? Yeah.
Nice
kind of fell off the curb a little bit.
How
and
dare
landed
you.
face forward into some ice and bourbon.
All right, now hold on. Let me just introduce the other people, and then I got to get back to you with your bourbon story there, Coco. All right, look at Switch. Up there in the Bowl of Lakes, Battle Creek, Michigan, our national correspondent, Switchblade, Steve Ward. Stevie.
And great to be here tonight.
And what do you got there? What's that? Is that your
Disco?
Disco. Oh, because I know one. Also, the nurse on duty. The nurse on duty. Boy, this show needs medical attention. Nurse Kayla. Nurse Kayla, how you doing?
Hey.
Wow.
Good, how are you?
Hi, Nurse
Kayla, could you give us a blood pressure reading?
Blood pressure?
Show so
okay.
far?
Oh, blood pressure reading?
Yes.
All right, give me your arm.
Okay. Which one?
Virtual arm.
Everyone. How did everyone do that on Zoom? Everyone just they held their arm out the camera.
Pretty high.
Pretty high. Okay, well, you got that right. Yeah. Anyway.
We're high, all right.
We're hyper-intensive.
There we go. We're high on life. And here's another guy. Our guest is high on life, too. I can tell. Okay? Now, he's out in California, okay? This is Paul Dale Roberts. PDR. How you doing there, PDR? Do people call you PDR? They call you.
I'm doing fine. I love that the disco background.
Yes.
Yeah, Space Ranger has.
So you're a UFO investigator.
That's cool.
You're very much involved in UFOs and trying to find out what they are. But many years ago, you also danced disco for, what was it, 8 days during the dance marathon disco?
Yeah, 8.5 days.
8.5 days.
5 hours. Yeah.
That's insane.
Was that in Sacramento or someplace in California, right?
No, Sacramento.
Okay,
yeah.
Wow, yeah.
And then we had like a 5-minute break on every hour.
Okay, yes.
So if I had to do something personal, I had to do it during that five minutes.
Go ahead. Good way of putting it. Yeah, in that 5 minutes. Okay. So how'd you eat, though? Did you eat?
Oh, I ate while dancing.
Ate while dancing. Okay.
Yeah.
8.5 days.
And then at times I would do, let's say, a number one. Okay. And people would watch me.
Wow. That's sick.
Because I had to keep my feet going while I'm doing the number one.
Wow.
Yeah, what was the stop?
Yeah.
Time out.
I was just following you. PDR, question, because it's just popped into the reptilian brain here. Did you start to have your UFO interests and experiences
around this time?
After this 205 hours of disco dancing, or were you always into UFOs?
I was always into UFOs because I lived in Monterey.
Okay.
And Monterey Bay supposedly has a UFO base.
Underneath,
the underwater.
Yeah,
lots of people see. But listen, let's get back to the doing number one and people watching you while you're dancing. Okay. So, for you,
we used to have that in the Navy too, but it was for a different kind of test.
Okay.
And we had nurses standing by.
Nurses.
So. Yeah. So Kayla would have fit right in.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. I have many
people hit the deck. Any people pass out during that disco?
Yeah, there was some people who were attempting the record with me.
Okay.
And they one swelled up like an elephant. One went into convulsions.
Really?
One fell flat on her face.
Wow. Okay. Wow. All right. Nothing but fun. Yeah. Okay.
Keep in touch with those people, or they pretty much just kind of dropped contact?
They kind of dropped out. Yeah, I don't even think they dance anymore.
So are you dancing with someone during this 8.5 hours, or you dancing by yourself?
By myself and with someone. And they had this one lady who happened to be a very, very strong German lady.
Okay.
And when I felt like I was going to pass out, she would actually hold on to me.
Wow.
I kept my feet moving, slow dance. And I looked at her and I said, "You can now let me go, because I can handle it from here."
Wow,
and then she let me go, and
that's crazy.
I started doing it.
What happened to her?
And you ran away.
Are you in touch with her?
Talk about idle vice, huh? Idle vice.
Wow. It must have been Brunhilde.
What? Well, she kept you going, and then was she there when you won, when you were crowned?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You give her a big hug?
Is this starting to take like a whole Wagnerian type approach? Wow.
Well, you only found you found the one and only heartwarming German. Okay, so I'd hang on to it. But anyway, listen. That's inappropriate. So listen. So now tell us, how did you? I know that at one point in your career, okay, I know you've been on TV and you're widely published and so on, and you're out in California, right? Where in California are you?
Sacramento, but actually in Elk Grove, which is very near Sacramento.
Okay, all right. And you have a model wife. Your wife is a model, correct? If my notes are correct.
Yeah, your notes are pretty correct.
Really?
I Googled it last time.
In fact, let me see those notes.
Okay. There you go. So is she there or is she at the neighbors like last 3 times we've talked?
She's, like Columbo, if you ever watched Columbo.
Yes.
And he always talked about his wife, but you never saw her.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sort of like that.
Well, I thought that was kind of sad, but okay. All right, so listen. So now, at one point in your career, you actually saw U.S. government photos of UFOs, right?
Right.
Okay, just tell us what happened, please.
Okay, so on one particular day, I was with the 501st Military Intelligence Battalion at PICK Photo Interpretation Center in Korea. And I had a top secret SBI, which is Special Background Investigation type clearance. My job was a 97 Bravo. I was an intelligence analyst. And on one particular day, 6 photographs came in. And on those 6 photographs were different type of UFOs. One was cigar shaped, one was globe shaped, one looked like a little fireball, et cetera, et cetera. And behind the photo, it said intelligent movement. And the photo is from a bigger picture. They actually had video footage from reconnaissance satellites. So there was videos that I don't know where those were, but the photographs represented a video. So whatever, let's say the globe-shaped UFO, they had the photograph, and somewhere is this video. And it went to the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and then from there it went to the CIA, and then into a black hole, and those photographs disappeared. I never saw them again.
What do you think it was?
Well, definitely something that's unidentified, so it would be classified as a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
The only other strange thing I saw there at PICK, and I worked with image interpreters, and what they would do, and what was kind of unusual about image interpreters, I would ride with one of them, and it would be an unmarked vehicle. We would notify the Korean police and to let them know that we're going through to Osan Air Force Base to pick up what is called hot rolls.
Stuff. Okay, yes, yep.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned this before, but my partner would have one half the combination. I would have the other half of the combination to open up the trunk. And then there's a suitcase. He has the one half of the combination. I have the other half. Open it up, and we put the hot rolls in. Mm-hmm. And you go as fast as you can on the freeway. So there was no stopping us. The police knew who we were.
Okay.
There was a little play card on the dashboard. Do not stop this vehicle for any reason.
I'd love to have one of those. So where did the film come from? Where did the film that you were picking? And it's
those are from reconnaissance aircraft.
Okay, yeah, wow. Like U-2s or whatever?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Wow. And so I know that photo interpretation is a real, I saw a documentary a few months ago on how they proved that missiles were in Cuba during the 1962 Cuban missile.
Yeah.
And the way they prove
interpreters were used for that.
it's fascinating how they can look at stuff and say, well, that's kind of disturbed. Oh, there's a lot of truck traffic here. And you look at it and you go, what are you talking about? But they can see change.
Look at a little tiny dot.
Yeah.
A little tiny dot and tell you it's a T-72 tank.
Right, yeah.
I would look at the dot. To me, it's a dot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see T-72 tank. And they're amazing.
Yep. You see it every day, and I guess it just gets in your mind. Well, that's what that is. And these days, who knows? But in '62,
I've seen photo interpreters, and of course, they use a lot of computer software now. But they still spend a lot of time. They were counting footprints. They knew footprints from days over to track traffic to see what the kind of activity level was in areas. Just amazing stuff.
That's crazy, man. When you get down to that. So what years were you in doing this in Korea, there, Paul?
That would be 1981 to 82, a little bit of 82.
Okay. And so when you were when you saw these the artist photographs that you saw, this classified photograph, where did they come from, if you could just refresh us?
The photographs, I assumed that just came from our reconnaissance satellites.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just a very simple job. As photographs came in, I assigned it a number. That was basically all I did.
Right.
And I just looked at the photograph, and it just really blew me away. It said intelligent movement.
Wow.
So that means the military, even though Project Blue Book shut down its doors,
right,
they were still
On it.
looking into UFOs.
Yeah. Oh, they've been doing that for years. They've been lying about it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but
Well, now I hear that Pentagon has a task force
Right.
for UFOs.
yeah, it has a different acronym or whatever, but they're looking into, the Tic Tac videos and stuff like that. I think it's just a very interesting time for them to, come clean with us, and this is a very odd time for all these years since they started lying in 1947 that UFOs didn't exist, and that's when the U.S. military really started lying to us about it. Like the year before that, 47 or so, they were as open about it as anyone. They said, well, we're looking into these things to see if they're from different planets and stuff. I mean, they were open to it, and so was a lot of different governments around the world. But, man, at the end of 87, there was a thing called Project Grudge, and that was it. They said, well, anyone who sees a UFO is nuts is basically what happens. But so they've been lying since then, and then all of a sudden now they're coming clean with us? I think it's just odd.
They must think we're ready.
But ready for what?
I don't know.
I mean, ready for what?
The big reveal?
But what is it, though? I mean, well, we don't know. It's an unanswerable question, but I mean, what is it that you would...
I think the government wants to make sure that they have a plan in place to defend ourselves from whatever they are first.
It's like the Indians had a plan in place.
I can't see this on
when Columbus landed. Oh, let's put that plan into place now. Yeah, there is no plan. All right, but I mean, for them to reveal,
there's no plan, but they want to believe that we have a plan.
Well, that's how
we don't get nervous about it.
They've gotten away with it for years. This is really going down a different road, but. Just recently researching Pearl Harbor, the attack on Pearl Harbor, okay, and what was happening in the Hawaiian Islands right before the attack on Pearl Harbor. You know what the Army's defense of Oahu was? That because they took into account what happened at Nanking, okay, the slaughter of Nanking, and that the Japanese Army was, prone to bloodbaths, let's say. And they thought that was going to happen in Hawaii. So what they were going to do is they were going to put all the troops on troop ships and just sail back to California. And if you could put the civilians on, okay. If not, that's the way it goes. And they're just going to leave them. That was the defense plan.
Wow.
Okay. It was no defense plan.
Yeah.
So let's hear about this defense plan against UFOs.
Well, it's a virtual defense plan.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Now you're winning me over. Okay.
It's virtual.
But I mean, could it be as crazy as something that said, listen, we're going to break this to you easily? There's these
UFOs, but we have them under control.
They're more powerful than us, and but they're going to leave us alone.
We have lied so long about this that now you can't get out of the depth of the hole that we are in lying.
What?
So, and you look at all, Mac, you keep bringing it up, and you're absolutely right. You look at all the crazy stuff that is going on around us. This is just one more gallon of gasoline to drop on the burning flame.
It's an odd time. So listen, Paul, let's get back to you. Okay, so in your career of being a photo analyst, did you ever see anything as crazy as these the intelligent movement photos?
One more photo.
Okay, go ahead.
So later on, about a few months later, another photograph comes in. Has nothing to do with UFOs. But what it is a picture of a blurry man walking in the jungle with soldiers next to him. And I looked on the back of the photo, and it said, POW ? And that was 1981.
Wow.
American POW in Vietnam, 1981.
Wow.
And then later on, Special Forces came out saying, Vietnam has POWs, and we're talking about the 80s.
Okay,
so,
sure. Well,
and I had that information, and it's like, wow. And when I saw that, it just blew me away, and I was pretty upset about it.
Mm-hmm.
But, you can't just disclose the information. You wind up in jail.
All right, let me just throw this out here. This is really, really a military X-file, but not the kind of one that you might expect. Okay, first of all, when they settled the Vietnam War, it was okay. We just got out of there. That's basically what happened. We didn't win it. I'm not sure exactly what they accomplished, but the getting out took a long, long time, and it was left up to Nixon and Kissinger to do it. So Kissinger would go over, and they would meet, and All I remember is that they would argue about how big the table was and all this nonsense. All right. Now I know that you're negotiating with these communist people who will they'll wait till you drop dead of old age before they give you anything. So I understand it's a tough negotiation with these people. However, there were a lot of missing in action guys. There were a lot of POWs that never came back. Okay, the officers that were up in the Hanoi Hilton, the pilots that were shot down and so on, they made a big deal for those guys coming out. John McCain was one of them, which is great, okay, because what they endured, we should never.
That was the big sticking point for a lot of those negotiations.
And they just gave them up. I mean, there had to be other POWs over in Vietnam. There had to be missing in action guys that are still alive. There have to be. And Kissinger just basically washed his hands of it. And that's a disgrace. And the fact that you saw this photo. Now, the only thing I wonder about this, and I've thought about it, more than a few times, as you can tell, what is to the benefit of the Vietnamese communists to have prisoners all these time? What's the benefit? We go over there now. We're like friends with them. They help us find crashed airplanes. They help us find, missing soldiers that, on our side. What's the benefit of them still holding POWs?
Mac, you're throwing a lot of stuff up against the wall here. So if you're going to take a breath and hit the brakes here, I'm not going to defend the boys here. But you're throwing a lot of stuff up here. Number one, there were POWs that were in North Vietnam and Hanoi who didn't come back because they were collaborators. Their families were told, they made the choice, and they stepped over the side.
Yeah, okay.
That happened.
Yeah, go ahead.
They were broken under unbelievably
How
bad torture.
How many?
I don't know how many. I wasn't part of that group.
Okay, go ahead.
You're throwing stuff up, Mac.
Well, go ahead.
I got to clear it.
Go ahead.
The other part is this. We lost lots of soldiers in crashes in the jungle and did not have in place the DNA activity that we do now.
Right, sure.
They would go back and take letters and pull the stamps off and try to get the letters from the mothers that wrote to their sons in Vietnam to trace DNA down because we did that. That's the reason why they want huge DNA starting in the mid-'80s. Everyone's starting to capture DNA as they start to figure this out.
Yes.
We have more lost soldiers for World War II, MIAs, than we do for Vietnam. No one talks about that. We have almost as many lost from World War I that were never accounted for. Tomb of the unknown.
Let me ask you this.
The goal is never to have another one.
Let me ask you this.
So there's a lot of stuff that has gone wrong with that. But to just say that they let it go.
No, but let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Okay. And I'm saying this as someone who you dropped off some booze to 2 weeks ago for free. Thank you. Do you think that there are other POWs in Vietnam when they ended the war, other than the ones that we saw? Okay.
Absolutely.
What happened to them?
I think some of them never filtered into the main part of the cultural system. The different tribes and the different areas that were operating, places like Laos and Cambodia, we weren't officially fighting.
Right.
I think some got left behind. I think some were injured. I think some just chose to walk away. That happened a lot in Korea, and it really freaked out the military because we had people cross over to the other side. Christ, the North Koreans kept one guy for 25 years. He was married before he decided he could get out of North Korea.
Who would want to live over there? It's like the unfunnest place in the world.
The French have POWs and MIAs that they never accounted for their time in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't think you leave.
One of the reasons they did that is they knew it was a bargaining chip for us. It was an emotional chip.
Until you let these guys, so their lives mean nothing. That's what bugs me about this whole thing is, and it goes right to the veterans too. Not to get me on my soapbox, but it just drives me insane that as soon as someone leaves the service in this country, boom, you're forgotten about. There shouldn't be any charities like Homes for Our Troops. Just Google them. They're a great military assistance charity. There shouldn't be any of these things, okay?
There shouldn't be a need for it.
There shouldn't be a need for it. Our country, our Veterans Administration should take care of these guys until they're in the grave, okay? That's what other countries do. And the Veterans Administration, their freaking budget is
does a better job than the United States, Mac.
What? Say that again?
Name a country that does a better job for veterans than the United States.
Canada, Australia. We went through this. England, France, Germany. So you don't think Germany?
Have
you don't think
10
Russia?
12% of the number. Oh, please.
You don't think people in Russia, people who fought in the war, people who fought in World War II in Russia were anyone who fought in that war were considered
living
heroes.
On approximately $8 a month.
I'm not saying it was a great place, but they respected them. They gave them respect. They gave them respect. Okay, you think there are any German veterans living on the street in Germany?
Yes, I do.
I can't believe that. How about Canada? How about Australia?
And they're not involved in the wars that we got into. that's the other part that I always love.
So are you saying we do a good job in this country with the Veterans Administration?
Absolutely not.
Okay, there we go. Let's get back to you. Paul, you still there? Hey, Nurse Kayla. Nurse Kayla, are you close to Cobra? Can you bring him over with some kind of a intravenous thing?
Blood supply.
Put some scotch in there.
A couple of units, please. I'm O positive.
So, Paul, just going back to so is that how you got interested in UFOs when you get out of the service after you saw those weird photographs? Were you interested in them as a kid or anything?
Yeah, I got a little bit interested as a kid living in Monterey because people were talking about UFOs, USOs, coming out of the water and becoming UFOs. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. I mean, I wasn't really hooked on it. But then later on in 1976, I take that back. 1974, I was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and we saw 6 glowing-shaped UFOs, disc-shaped, flying along the sky. And one of the soldiers says, "Geese?" And I'm going, "Geese?" I mean, they're glowing blue, they're disc-shaped and everything else. And as we watched them, they just took off in all kinds of erratic ways and just zoomed off and disappeared. And then I looked at everybody and I said, those were UFOs. So in 1974, I would say I became very interested experiencing that. And also, too, along the East Coast, along many military bases, UFOs were being seen. And then in 1976, I took a break from the Army, came back to Sacramento, and I was living in an apartment with then my girlfriend, Helen Lang.
Okay.
And it was one particular night, I was watching TV, and I can't even tell you what I was watching, Dick Van Dyke's The Comic.
Oh, okay.
And it went into static mode. Helen Lang comes running into the apartment, screaming her lungs out, and said that 200 feet above her head was a UFO hovering. Wow. And I said, what? And I didn't believe it. But then she was very hysterical and she was crying. I said, okay, if you're telling the truth,
yes.
I said, I'm taking you to the Sacramento Sheriff's Department. Took her over there,
okay.
And they gave her an 800 number to call Dr. Alan Hynek of the Center of UFO Studies.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah, so she made her, I liked that. And so, John Travolta. So anyway, so she made a report. At some point in time, we broke up.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Alan Hynek calls me and says, I want to talk to Helen. I said, well, we broke up.
Yes.
And he goes, you broke up? And I go, yeah. And he goes, do you know what the UFOs looked like? I said, yeah, she drew me a picture. He goes, can you send me the picture? So I sent him the picture. And then later on in the Sacramento Bee, the newspaper, 3 people on that very same night, including Helen Lang, saw a UFO, and they all described the same UFO. So Helen Lang wasn't lying.
Okay, so listen. So anyway, we're a radio show, but we do have video, and your curtain is going up and down and back of you. Is that a ghost manipulating that? You have a cat, very intelligent cat.
Caught on camera, paranormal, caught on camera.
Yeah, we can sell this.
Yeah.
So
I'm buying it.
And speaking of which, here's my. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, well.
No, right here. My wife's latest book.
Oh, let's see. Put it right up there. Where's the picture of the author? Where's the author's picture?
Dream Moon.
Okay, Dream Moon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a lot of metaphysical stuff.
Is it a novel or is it nonfiction?
She does one, Lion Moon.
Okay,
and
nonfiction.
There's her picture on the side there.
Let's see the cover again there, please. Let's see the cover.
No, friggin' look up on Amazon.
Yeah.
That's your wife.
These are Amazon, Lulu.
That's your wife.
Remember
Hi,
come on. Name?
Listen, hold on.
Let's see that again.
Deanna Jackson Stinson.
Put that up there again, please. Okay, here's the thing. We're plugging her book, so can we have the author herself on, please? Why? Why is that
not here?
Why? Oh, the way she's over at the neighbors last time. Wow. Huh.
Yeah. And, look at my books. They're just plain.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
They're nothing to look at.
You're missing something. I wonder what it is.
Paul, when you were on active duty,
Yeah.
And you saw some of these pictures. Did you have any guidance given to you specifically about these, these really remarkable photographs that you were looking at in catalog?
My captain basically told me when I was going to look at the photographs to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah.
Or there'll be dire circumstances.
Yeah, right. Yep. I can see. That's what they told a lot of people. And a lot of people just said, okay.
Yeah, he was dead serious. And he looked me right in the eye and told me that.
At what point did you feel comfortable to talk about what you saw and experienced?
When I got out of the Army, I just said, hell with it. And I wrote an article about it. And then it was published everywhere. And I said, if they arrest me, then they're admitting that what I'm saying is the truth.
Yeah, right.
So I said, go, come after me. I'm talking about it. So, but yeah, they never came after me.
Wow, huh? So now you've, you know what we do? We're going to take a quick commercial break. You can hang with us, right, Paul?
Right.
Yeah. Nurse Kayla, you there?
Yes.
How's the pulse? Tell us. You can be frank with us. You can be upfront.
No, it's going good. The blood pressure's still rising.
The blood also rises.
It's going to get even more fun. So let's take a commercial break now, and we'll be right back after this. You're listening to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network.
UFOs are found in Renaissance art, on ancient coins, and etched on cave walls. They're even reported in the Bible. But more surprising is when UFOs are seen the most, in times of war. Through centuries, thousands of UFO sightings have been made by high-ranking officials, military pilots, and ordinary soldiers. Often, these fantastic appearances occur at the height of great battles. From World War I to D-Day, to Korea, Vietnam, and beyond, military investigators are baffled. Why do UFO sightings spike so drastically during wartime? Could it be mistaken aircraft, or someone, or something, looking in on us? In UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, Mack Maloney chronicles centuries of these incredible sightings and tries to solve the puzzle of why so many UFOs are seen while humanity is at war. Read about the scare ships, the ghost planes, and the ghost rockets, alien giants in the jungles of Vietnam, UFOs controlling our ICBM bases, dogfights with flying saucers during the Gulf War, and more. 300 pages of unbelievable stories, along with many startling photographs. That's UFOs in Wartime, What They Didn't Want You to Know, by Mack Maloney. On sale at your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Hello, this is Nurse Kayla. And if you don't want me to hit you with my spoon, then you better listen to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files. And now, here's Mack.
Welcome back, everyone, to Mack Maloney's Military X-Files show here on the Distant Thunder Radio Network. This is Macaroni. Wow, what a show this has turned out to be. Girls, guess who's here? Who's still here?
Still here, live and kicking.
All right, very famous 1-1.
Hello, Mac. I'm having a ball so far. I hope the girls are, too.
Sure.
We didn't say anything inappropriate in the show yet, did we?
I don't know. I can't remember back that far.
Very good. Sometimes things slip.
For all of the
we've been on our best behavior tonight.
It seems that way for some reason.
Right,
but
Kayla?
There's always time for the train to run off the track.
Nurse Kayla has to go on an appointment, so we have to...
Well, let me go around the horn here first. Okay. All right. For all our MILFs out there, Commander Cobra's here. Coco, how you doing?
It's always a pleasure to be on the
would you say
on the wing.
Would you say that you skew to our middle-aged married woman audience?
I think my superpower are older women and women that are a little bit heavier.
Oh.
Wow. We'll cut that out if you
That's probably my superpower.
What?
Non-cowboy wearing girls?
Non-cowboy boot wearing, that's correct. That's Kayla.
Whoa.
There's Kayla speaking. She knows some inside track information.
TMI. Up in the Bolaf Lakes, looking like he's way back in the disco era, with the beard and the hair. Switchblade Steve Wood, Switchy.
And it's as usual. It's great to be here tonight.
You got the beard back, right? You grew the beard back.
Well, yeah, I shave it off and it comes back.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Amazing.
Okay, yeah. Boulder Frosted Flakes this morning, if you're keeping count, and also bought four Sweetwater's Donut Mill donuts, right?
But I've only had half of them. I have not eaten 4 donuts today.
Okay, tomorrow's breakfast, right?
Tomorrow's breakfast.
But you put donuts in the fridge. I'm not sure you're supposed to do that.
Got a lemon filled. It's just trust me, Mac. It's
really
fine. You just put it in the microwave for a few seconds.
Okay.
And they're ready to go.
Everything goes.
I wouldn't keep them in there a couple days. But,
okay. All right.
Still pretty fresh the next day.
Let me just throw one thing out before we get to our two other guests. Okay. Take a plain donut, cut it in half.
Yep.
This is the New England thing. Toast it, and then load butter on it. You haven't.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. That's just a plain donut. Anyway. Luckily, there's a nurse in the house to check our pulse. How about that? Let's write that down.
Let's check our cholesterol, too, while you're at it.
There's Kayla.
Hello.
I know that you have a medical emergency that you have to go to. Right?
Yes, I have to run.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Nurse Kayla.
I don't know if I've asked you this before, but...
Hi, it was nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
When I'm on my, my multi-million-dollar bed, will you be my nurse?
Of course.
Okay, it's going to be about 30 or 40 years, okay?
Okay.
Okay, good. All right, thank
Nurse
you.
Kayla, you work out the details when we have our gathering in September.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
She said yes very quickly. Thank you, Nurse Kayla. Let's give her a round of applause, please.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We'll see you
You're welcome.
soon.
Thank you for
All
being
right.
here.
Okay.
All right,
see
good
ya.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Wow, not supposed to say this, but what a sweetheart, really.
Yeah. Should be there by your side and everything.
There you go. Speaking of sweethearts, our other guest is a good friend, Paul Dale Roberts, PID, out there in California. Right? So you're an interesting guy. You saw these top secret photographs. You become a UFO investigator. You write books, and you're married to a model, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, you didn't see this cover, though. Okay.
Wow. Wow. Who's that? Is that your wife?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, poor thing. I tied her up in the tracks.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. All we need is more testimony. on the show.
Hey, and was Space Ranger?
What's your name?
Where did you get all the disco stuff?
Yes, right.
I just stole the images online. I knew you were coming, so.
Okay, cool.
So, other than your UFO research career, you were the disco king of Sacramento way back when. Now, do you want us not to keep bringing this up, or is this a feather in your cap that you'll wear forever?
No, I mean, it actually is funny, you know, because even as I look back, it's like, how in the heck did I get into disco? I mean, that's crazy, you know, so.
Well, you must have liked it at some point.
Well, at the time, you know, different reasons.
Okay.
You know.
What, to get laid? Oh, okay, wow. For the audience, he just did the zipper move over his mouth. Okay. Oh, we understand. Okay, all right. Well, hey, listen, you know, when disco was around and I was still in diapers, little Mac, I didn't like the music. I really didn't, because of the music that it took over for, you know, was kind of cool music. That's like late 60s, early 70s music. But when you listen back on some of those disco records now, especially from the production point of view, they're really good. Some of them are really, really good and innovative, you know. I never thought I'd be defending disco, but I am. Yeah, and there were dance music.
There was a lot of good disco music.
And people like to dance, you know. They like to dance.
And I never thought I was going to make disco history, because you can, you know, go into disco Wikipedia, and as you scroll down into the dancing part, I guess I was the first one that did a marathon.
So you're on Wiki, huh? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made disco history with all the disco stars back in the day, you know, Donna Summer and Bee Gees and everything else.
Donna Summer was from my neighborhood in Dorchester. Did you know that, Wani?
Nope.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Wonderful gal.
Yeah, she was something else. Yeah, she died really young, but she had quite the thing going on in Boston before she broke big, as they say.
She did.
Yep.
I like Space Rangers Stonehenge. I actually visited Stonehenge.
Okay, Switchy is a.k.a. Space Ranger. Yeah, what happened there? Did you feel any vibe or anything going on there?
Well, I read a report where some guy had a dowsing rod, and he pointed it to Stonehenge, to the stones.
Oh.
And he got hit by electricity. So I said, okay, well, when we go to Stonehenge, I pointed to dowsing rods to the stones to see if anything was going to happen.
Yep.
But nothing happened.
So a dowsing rod, isn't that what you find water underground with, or is that just I'm watching too many cowboy movies?
Well,
it's one of the main things. It can be used for a lot of different things.
Right.
Well, people have used L rods out there, and they seem to have, depending on the individual and so forth, they seem to have pointed to the heel stone or whatever. But Paul, when you went there, were you able to go up and touch the stones, or had they rubbed it off?
No, they had it fenced off at the time when I was there.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I was there in 73 the first time. You could go up and touch the stone. And then one time I was on the sub, and we pulled into Portsmouth, and I got a chance to go back. That was about 81, and it was roped off, so you could touch the stone.
Did you carve your name in the stone there, Switchy?
I did not. I did not. I used a magic marker.
So either one of you
Kilroy was here.
Either one of you guys, I mean, when you saw them, were you amazed by the size of them or anything like that?
Oh, good Lord, yes.
Yeah.
I was in awe. And then at that time, I was married to my second wife.
Wow.
And we were looking at it, and I was just in total awe. Just kept on looking at Stonehenge. A lot of things ran through my mind. I read Chariots of the Gods. I'm a definite believer of Chariots of the Gods.
Von Däniken.
My wife at that time, she looks at me and she goes, "Do we have to look at these rocks all day? Let's go shopping." I go,
can't imagine how that one didn't work out.
Yeah. How long?
Obviously it was in the stars, but I can't imagine how that one.
Yeah. How long did you hold on to that angel?
10 years.
Really?
10 miserable years.
How many times you been married there, brother? 3. He's showing us 3. 3. Okay. All right. The third one is the one that's going to last.
One's a charm.
Right? Yeah, because you married a model. Okay, the circle is now complete. Coco, you've ever been to Stonehenge?
Yes, I have, and I've flown over a few times as well.
What's going on there? I mean, that we can talk about in 5 minutes. I mean,
I think that archaeologically, there's been a lot that's been discovered, and how it lines up. There's a main road way that's been overgrown, but leads to another area. There's some very interesting archaeology that's gone on there. There's been some really interesting breakthroughs. There's little small, they're about the size of a bowling ball, candlepin bowling ball, or maybe a small cannonball that they've found in the area. An archaeologist had students actually make them, and they demonstrated how they were able to move over long, large
over those stone
areas
bowling balls
with these little round stones, like basically like a ball bearing kind of setup, and push it along. They were able to move it. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that's going on there. There's obviously, because it's England, it's in that particular, those islands, Ireland and Scotland included, there's just a lot of mystical things that happen there. And the people that are there, the Celts that came over from mainland Europe, early on, they settled in that part of it. The people that have, been through there, there's just a lot of interesting things that happen in that part of the world. And I think that's what makes things like Stonehenge unique. I have also spent a lot of time at the American Stonehenge, which is just north of where you and Juan not very far at all, in fact, in Salem.
Yep.
And that's Mr. Stone and his family that have been there for years. And there's very interesting things there that these structures definitely have incredible possibilities of having advanced influence. How people were behind it when they built it, what they were after. So I think that the possibility realming from extraterrestrial visitors to highly organized societies that we've lost in the annals of time and history. It's pretty cool stuff.
The question
years ago, I got to see Gerald Hawkins, who wrote Stonehenge Decoded.
Yes,
this goes back to the '60s. At that time he said that Stonehenge was essentially a computer for predicting eclipses of the moon. So the way it was structured, he thought that culture at the time, the moon was very important for whatever reason to those people.
See, that's my question is always, what were these people up to? This isn't something they did in a day. This was a major, major project. Same thing with the pyramids in a way. Same thing with Easter Island. Same thing with the Angkor Wat.
I thought Stonehenge and Easter Island at least were part of a navigation route or something like that.
Who knows? Easter Island's
one. The thing that you bring up there is there's a couple theories out where instead of the circle being divided to 360 degrees, it's divided to 366 degrees. Mathematically, when you go through that, if you take that and you lay that onto a sphere, like the Earth,
Go ahead.
and you change your longitude lines
Yes.
on that respect.
Yes.
Many of these things start to line up when you use this extra 6
Wow,
degrees added. They call them
really?
different salt
Ley
lines
lines.
and the ley lines that are out there.
Yeah.
So afterwards, when cathedrals start being built, which are, again, these mega machines, these mega structures that society is putting out, they line up on this. And there's interesting things that line up with them that go back to megalithic or megaware ages.
Let me tell people real quick. In England, there are these things called ley lines, all right? And just Google a map of England showing ley lines. And when you look at them, all the different things that kind of line up with these things, there's so many of them that it's like...
They're dead on line.
Yeah, it's impossible to be a coincidence. You know, something was happening, and you bring up England, and we mentioned it in Mack Maloney's Haunted Universe, on sale everywhere, how England is such a strange place because it's an ancient place. It's an ancient place. The Romans were in charge of England for like 700 years. That's how far their history, you know, goes back, even modern history. But there's a lot of structures in England. There's a lot of just very kind of strange, haunted places, a lot of places that have like, you know, I want to say myths, but they're true. People see big cats over in the UK all the time, big dogs, lots of really... There's a bridge there that dogs, if you bring the dogs to it, the dog will jump off it and commit suicide. So they don't allow dogs on the bridge. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Hey, listen, we got like 3 more minutes. Paul, so what are you doing lately? Have you written anything lately, or what do you want to plug?
Sacramento Paranormal Help. If you want to see my wife, she does tarot card readings at Sacramento Paranormal Help.
Okay.
And also, too, she goes live
what's her name?
On our investigations.
What's her name again?
Deanna Jackson Stinson.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So will she do a reading on the air with us sometime?
She doesn't like doing radio shows. She leaves those up to me. Yeah. So.
Whoa, that hurt, man.
We're too lowbrow.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, tell her we said hey. Okay. All right.
Yeah, she likes to do her own show, and she does. She has a lot of followers, so you know, she likes to be able to do her own thing. And
so, what show is she on?
With Sacramento Paranormal Help on Facebook. Sacramento Paranormal Help on Facebook.
Sacramento
Paranormal Help. Yeah. The cases are popping up. We're getting,
well, how about if we
getting live cases again?
If we went undercover and pretended to be someone else, would you be mad at us?
No, of course not.
All right, good.
Yeah,
we got the goal. That's the goal.
We would welcome you with open arms.
There you go. All right, that's 2 thumbs up there, JJ. We got something to work on. Paul, thanks for joining us. Okay. And we'll
thank you.
What's the name of your book?
Fun.
What's the name of your book? You showed up. You showed us your book, the cover of your book. What's the name of it?
Oh, these are some of my old books. I have some really good covers now.
Yes.
Because I have an artist.
Wait, what's the name of the book?
What's the name of the book?
You can see.
Oh, this
Case
one.
Files? Yes.
Yeah, HPI Case Files.
Book 6.
Book 6. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
But I have like 30 books out there. But if you look at Paul Dale Roberts' Lulu Spotlight, you'll see some of my newest books. And I have an artist, and he draws me as the Demon Warrior. So I'm sort of like a superhero now.
Wow. Huh? Okay. Well, good for you.
And Paul and I are both in the same book by Timothy Green Beckley, edited by him, called Weird Winged Wonders. So check that out.
Yeah. Cool. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Paul's in a lot of stuff that Tim Beckley has edited.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a famous guy, and he's on TV. You've been on TV before, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How can you get us a gig on TV? You can be our agent. How can you bring 4 wacky guys from the radio on TV? No one wants to talk to us.
The radio killed the radio star, man.
There you go.
Yeah, but your radio show is great. So,
yeah, but we want the big time. We want with big ego. We're like the Beatles. Okay. Thank you, Paul. Thanks for joining us. And please,
thank you.
Please beg your wife to just forget her hatred of radio shows for 20 minutes some night. Can you work that?
She told me that you guys rather see my face than hers.
She's wrong.
No offense.
We're tired of your face right now.
Leave him laughing. Thank you, Paul. We really appreciate it, brother. Okay. See you later, man.
All right.
Good night, Paul.
See you, Paul.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you.
Best wishes to.
You're right. to your missus. Wow. Okay. Well, we should leave on the high note, but first, okay, let me plug Goodreads. Go on to MackMaloney.com, click on the star, and you'll be entered into the Goodreads contest to win a free copy of Codename Starman, The Sea of Moons, book number 2. We just gave away 6 copies of book number 1, The Kalishnikov Kiss, which Coco and Wanwan are
in love with.
Guest stars in.
That's right.
Guest stars in. You're both in it. You're a bad guy. Coco
I deserve to be a bad guy in it.
Coco's a very heroic snowplow driver.
That is a cool bit.
It's everything I dreamed of.
He always has been.
Hey, you get the 2 models in the end. Are you going to complain?
I just think it's great that I showed you that one year that I worked at the airport here locally, driving the big snow.
That's where I got the idea.
And
yes.
that's how it just got into the brain.
That's how I got the idea. Cool. You're right, Nicole. Switchy, thank you for joining us. Any more donuts on the horizon? You going to go back there anytime soon?
It just depends. If I'm sometimes if I'm in the area, I stop by.
Hey, are you doing costume changes there, brother?
Who, me?
Yes. He wasn't wearing this at the beginning of the show, was he?
No, he wasn't.
No. Wow. You start changing costumes.
No, the same costume. You'll recognize this.
Okay, there you go. All right.
Yeah, he's had it on the whole time.
Really?
He's changing his backgrounds, and he's.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, for some reason, it wipes out most of my body, and sometimes my head is suspended by the stone.
Yeah. Okay, I feel that same way too, but not for the same reason.
It's a good look. I love it.
Thank you, Coco, for joining us. Thank you to Nurse Kayla.
As always.
Thank you to Chris Ahr, the real NCIS guy. And once again, go on MackMaloney.com, hit the star, and get in contention to win a free book autographed by moi. And it's called Codename Starman, Sea of Moons. Homes for Our Troops is our charity. Homes for Our Troops. Just Google them. And what else we get to plug there? JJ.
You got the book.
I also like to throw in the People's Mosquito.
Go ahead.
Working on the Mosquito Rebuild Project. They're just finishing up on Operation Jericho. They'll be starting again. The response has been absolutely tremendous.
That's
and from John Lilly, director of the People's Mosquito, I just want to throw out the many thanks to the many, many listeners that have thrown a few dollars and pounds at this project. The molds are made. The 2 halves are laying up and getting ready to put the skin and start to form these aircraft.
The People's Mosquito Project, they're rebuilding one of the best fighters of attack planes of World War II. The People's Mosquito Project, and our good friend Ross Sharp.
Totally made out of wood.
It's totally, the frame is made out of wood, and they put 2 Rolls-Royce engines on it, and it could beat anything in the sky for a long time during World War II. Switchy, you got your friend there with you, right? Tony the Tiger?
Yeah, me and Tony.
Or am I just hallucinating that? Okay.
We're going to go to the Thirsty Moose afterwards.
Really, yeah. We haven't been there in a while. Juan got us kicked out.
Shocking. Shocked.
Anyway.
Couldn't have figured that one.
Now listen. So we are now a podcast, and thank you for everyone downloading us, as filthy as that sounds, okay? Just go to podbean.com, or it turns out that a lot of
Alexa.
Stitcher. I love podcasts. I love, what is it?
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio. Just Google us, and you'll find. But a lot of people listen to us.
Trademark that one. We'll need to put that one on there.
Apple Podcasts.
We've said it enough times, just people pound on the computer. I went to this I Love podcast. I can't get anything.
Did I entertain you guys this week with Mac Flips Out? You know how many people? That was a very,
my God,
very.
that was tear-jerking.
Yeah. Juan hasn't heard it yet. So, well, thank you for everyone listening. And go to, if you have an Alexa, go, Alexa, play Mack Maloney's Military X-Files on Apple Podcasts, and we will suddenly be there. Also, very quickly, we're going to be talking more next week about a contest that we're going to run where we're going to have listeners we'll give them the secret passwords and come in and do a show with us on Zoom. What do you think of that, Wani?
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I love Zoom.
Yeah. Zoom, as it turns out, is a lot better than its competitor Skype, as it just turns out, okay?
Yep.
So, through the magic of Zoom, you've been listening to us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, gang, for joining us, and thank you for everyone listening. And to hear us again, this is Mac for the entire posse saying, be safe, be happy, and
bye-bye.